biggest station in the world, playing all of today's hits. You're listening to Instinct Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're now tuning into the very best. It's yours truly, Jazzy Fizzle, Fizzle, Fizzle. And this is Instinct Radio, man. Tune in, baby. Oh, boy.
Say what's said, and this your boy Shout Hello. Right now, you're on Instinct Radio. Let's get it. Shout it.
Hello, welcome back. We do apologize. We had technical difficulties. You know, we love computers and all of this stuff until it does not work correctly. So welcome back to Women of Empowerment. We're just going to start over, just give everybody a chance to reintroduce themselves since you didn't get a chance to see all of it on the first video. Again, my name is Kayl May. I am a radio talk show host, motivational speaker, author, and also a plus-size curvy model. How about that? I am also the author of The Unveiling of a Mask, where we talk to marriages as well as singles, letting them know what really goes on in a marriage, how to let them know that they are going to have struggles, but also how to get over those struggles and be really happy in their relationships. So again, it's called The Unveiling of a Mask by Kayl May. It can be purchased on Amazon. Today, we're going to be talking to other authors, and we're going to be talking about them. You know, we're going to talk about them. They're going to tell you about their books. They're going to tell you where you can get their books from. But really what we want to get out of this segment is we want to talk to people who have that idea that I want to write a book, but I don't know where to start. I don't know how to do it. I don't even know if I think I can do it. These authors are going to come together and answer those questions for you. So please take your time to call in, or you can text in any questions or comments that you may have to 478-569-6474. We would love to hear from you. That's the only way we can help you, if you ask those questions. So please call in or text in your questions that you may have. In the absence of my co-hosts Marcia and Audrey, I have a guest co-host, Miss Mechelle Stephens. She's going to tell you a little bit about herself. But first, I just want to thank you, viewers, for joining us on today, because I know there's so many other things that you could be doing. Thank you for taking your time to be here with us today. Please share out the Facebook live video so that other people can get the same information that you're giving, right? It's all about empowering other people, not just trying to keep everything for ourselves. We want everyone to rise up together. It's enough business out there for us all. So definitely make sure you share that out. We're going to start with Miss Mechelle here, this co-host.
First, I want to say thank you for having me. Let me co-host with you today. I am author of Unmasking, which is my autobiography, and the second book, Unmasking Unashamed, which is a workbook to the autobiography, helping people come out of a dark place. I am a transformational life coach as well as a ordained minister, and my passion is to empower people to move from the darkness to the light so that they can be effective, that they can rise up and reach back and get someone else. I released my third book today, which is A Secret Place. It is actually a Christian fiction book about a young girl meeting Christ every day at the secret place where she gets to know more about him, and at the end she finds that he is the lover of her soul, and she falls in love with who he is.
Congratulations on that.
That sounds good.
Awesome. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
So excited.
Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. I know it's going to be an awesome show with you here today. So we're going to start with our guests, letting them introduce themselves as well as their books and anything else they want to say.
Hello, hello, hello. It's your girl, Shonny, the author. I feel like I've done this before. But hi, everyone. Kayl, thank you for having me on your platform today to talk about my book, Letters of Forgiveness. This is based on a true story. It is based on the life of the young woman that took my sister's life. And see, I feel like I said it again. In case y'all heard that. But Letters of Forgiveness, it's something forgiveness you have to do every day. It is a daily work. If we don't tell our stories, so please ask questions, don't be afraid. If we don't tell our stories and share our stories, and we leave them on the shelf, then you guys out there, somebody is missing something. Someone may not heal. Someone may not truly understand what it is to forgive until you've had to walk in my size shoe. I ain't gonna say my size shoe because I got big feet, but yeah, this is serious, and it's a daily process to renew, asking God to constantly renew your faith, renew your strength, your mind, so that you can continue on. Because even after such a situation like this, other stuff still happens.
That's right.
So what I was telling you guys about earlier, then you're tested on, do you really forgive? Is this really what, do you mean that?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I say it's daily.
Awesome.
But I'm glad to be here to talk about the process of writing too when we get to that.
Awesome. Let's talk about the caterpillar.
The caterpillar, yes, the caterpillar. I am Tam'ala La'Shae. I'm the author of The Life of a Caterpillar. The healing is in the process, and it is worth it.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me here, Kayl May.
Oh, you're welcome.
I really, really am excited about this. The Life of a Caterpillar is a self-help book. It's a combo now. I just published the workbook that goes along with this book. So I did it like if you would take like a science class, this is the literature and the workbook is your lab. So you answer the questions and all that. But this is my story, and I wrote it in help for me only. But when I finished in my prayer time, God told me, now you got to reach back and you got to help somebody else like we doing today. And so what I did was I took what I wrote for me only, and I incorporated some questions, which is for the reader so that they can help themselves. So it's self-help. Right. So all this is the tools that will start your healing process and help you get through your process to become a better you.
Awesome. That's awesome. And we're going to talk about your workshop at the end of it, okay?
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I am Shonny Hardy, and I want to thank Kayl for having me today. I'm so happy to be here among great writers. And before I became a writer, I was an avid reader. And so my life was empowered by stories. And that's why I promote using stories for healing, for sharing a testimony, all of those wonderful things. So right now I'm here today as a publisher, as store owner. I have an online bookstore. We're trying to get a brick and mortar store. That's later. But I have also written several books. One of my books is 3 Nights in December. It is also a fiction Christian novel, and the characters there get to express their faith. But mainly I'm here just to share about the writing process. I know that the brain is wired for us to understand things through stories. And so everyone in this room and everyone else can be benefited by reading a story. And that's why I said Jesus Christ always told stories through parables, because that's how we learn. So I'm so excited about sharing everything or anything I know about the writing process and empowering people. I'm an encourager and for people to write their story. I think everybody should write a story. I don't think we can have enough books. So
and
thank
why?
you again.
That's what I want to get to a break where I can ask you,
right.
why do you think that?
Oh,
Something
I will
else
be
that
glad
you're doing as well.
That's right. Thank you. Yes. So
So
thank you.
the other thing that you're doing though is talk about that part that we talked
Yes,
about yesterday. I
thank
just
you.
met her yesterday. She's on the show today.
I know. I just want to thank God for Kayl, because I was there as a vendor, and when we've been, I sell my books, so I'm a bookseller now. I'm a former educator. I spent almost 30 years in public schools, and so now I sell book. I was an English teacher. I was a French teacher, so I'm all about promoting literacy and language, but I was so blessed by Kayl and her husband sharing their personal testimony, and I'm grateful for her book. I'm reading her book and learning so much. But what I shared with her is right now we're online. We're a bookstore online. We're trying to open a brick and mortar bookstore. And it's not about just selling books. It's about promoting literacy. It's about giving independent African American authors like yourself a platform for book signings, for talking about, doing your workshops. All of you have great stories to share. We want to open up that brick and mortar store. It's about providing enrichment classes for our children. I always tell people, I haven't given up on teaching, but I just want to be a teacher at large. I kind of want to teach on my own terms after almost 30 years. And so we have to get that store open. And I'm in my 50s. I don't want to give my age, but I'm in my 50s, and I don't want to get $100,000 loan. So what I'm asking people to do is go to GoFundMe, and we have a GoFundMe page, and it's storefront for avant-garde books. And I know later we'll get out our little logo so you can know. But all we're trying to do is ask people to give $1 single dollar. Now I know that sounds a little interesting, but we're asking people to give $1. They won't miss it. But think about if everybody gave $1. You gave just $1, and we mean that. We're so grateful for that $1 single dollar. And you told somebody to give $1. We can open up that bookstore tomorrow. I'm ready to go. My business plan is ready to go, and we're ready to go, but I'm just asking people to help me. And it's not about me. You used a word that I love to use, empowerment. It's all about empowering other people to continue to tell their stories. Our stories are not on the bookshelves in Barnes & Noble. That's just, Books A Million. Let's just keep it real. I've been writing for 14 years, but your books will be on my bookshelf, and anybody can come in and get it. Your books are just as worthy and just as important, and you may not be celebrities or everybody in the world doesn't know your name, but it doesn't mean that your story is any less valuable. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to promote us. Our stories are not heard enough. Each story, I've heard each woman tell a little bit something. I'm getting excited because I'm an avid reader. I told you before I started writing, I was a reader. So I got to read every single book today. I'm so excited. Please help me. And I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed to beg. My daughter wouldn't be here because she's like, Mom, I can't beg. But listen, my dream is I'm so passionate about this dream, and I know it can work. I'm begging for $1. Everyone
but like you said, it's not about you.
It's
you
not.
want to help empower other people, other children mainly, to get back into reading and get back into reading books. So that's why this show is so important, because that's why your book is so important. The book that you don't know if you should write or not, the book that you don't know if anybody else is going to read, your book is needed, and that's one of the reasons why.
And to have writing classes, to have a forum, again, it's all about promoting literacy. And the African American voice still hasn't been heard enough. Since we landed here as slaves, we were not allowed to read and write. So really, this whole book thing is kind of new, and before it was very selective. I'm excited to know that each of you have written a book. So many other people can do it. We can help them having writing classes because we've all done it. We've all gone through the process. So it's all about that E word, not ego, empowerment. It's all about empowering others. I use the term our bookstore because I'm just the person who's sort of coordinating everything. I want to do this. It can benefit our community, and I'm asking for each person to donate just $1. and the goal can be achieved. And I thank you so much. I thank you in advance for those of you who are listening and supportive. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Thank you.
We're going to pass it over here to our new host over here, our guest host here. Let her begin to ask these questions. This is a writer here. I wrote a book. This is a writer here. I tell her that all the time. She is definitely a writer. Even if she texts you or send you something through DM, you know that she's a writer, right? So we're going to let her get on started here so we can help these people. I have one person saying, I want to write a book.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So give him some information on what he needs to know about writing that book.
Okay, first I would like to say, how many of you felt like it was a necessity that you tell your story?
Yeah.
That it wasn't something that just by happenstance, that it actually consumed you. I have to tell my story.
Sleepless nights.
Yes, sleepless nights.
Yeah. And so a lot of people.
Mine wouldn't either. I wouldn't that.
Well, it was a necessity for you for your healing.
Yeah.
I had to tell it. I had to journal. And what Kayl said was so important about journaling.
Yes.
And I had some tips on journal because I love to journal, and a lot of my book actually came from journaling. And when I started to write this book, it was very painful. And of course, I believe yours may have been Shonny as well. You had to get past the part of what you thought up here and what you felt right here.
Come on. Yes.
And so my writing coach helped me. He said it's your voice, and it's that thing that's stuck right here.
That's good. That's
so
good.
I see it in my head. I know the story I want to tell about my sister, and I feel it, the passion in my heart. But how do I become that voice?
Yes.
How do I give my words the voice?
Right.
And I'm sure you did that in forgiveness, and you continue to do that.
Right.
And the Bible says we're walking epistles. We're read by men daily.
That's right.
So whether we pen it to paper or not,
Come on now.
people want to see who we are.
That's
And
right.
see if you're
That's
living
right.
that thing of forgiveness. See if you're living that thing of healing.
Yes.
Healing, if you can write a book. See if you're really living that life of literacy. Do I see you with a book in your hand?
That's right.
Right.
And writing and reading go together.
Together. Come on.
They go together. At first, I was like, I hate to read, but you give me something that I was passionate about.
That's right.
And I could sit for days and read. So I want to ask each of you today the necessity. What drove you to write? What drove you to write and say, I think I'm going to write about forgiveness, the letters of forgiveness?
For me, it was the healing. I didn't know that's what I was doing. So it was something subconsciously, I guess. I didn't know that I was actually doing that. I'm writing her because I have questions.
Wow.
And I heard that you wanted to reach out to me. So it was real. It was the book wasn't a thought.
Right.
But it came to close to, after 6 years of writing, the thought was planted. It was there. It still took 6 more years for the book to be produced. So that's what I mean about I didn't know. I just was writing to get healing. I wanted to understand what drove you, what would take you to this place. I had so many questions so that I could get better in that process. Because I'm asking her these questions, because I'm communicating, and she can open up that account and see a letter from me, she began to heal.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
From
Writing
all,
is a healing process.
the writing is a
Yes,
healing
It
process.
was a healing process for me.
Yes,
It's
it is.
therapeutic.
Yes, it
I've
is.
written so many things. My sister, she used to laugh at me all the time. I would have sticky notes, toilet paper, napkins. We could be anywhere. This before the touch screens and the
You were born a
recordings,
writer,
and I had stuff down, and I could literally still have some of this stuff in bags, like little pieces of paper of my life.
Yes.
Awesome. We have a caller, our first caller.
Yes.
We have a caller on the line. Introduce yourself, please, and ask your question.
Hello.
Hi. Introduce yourself and ask your question. But first of all, we have some background noise. Can you
Turn your radio down.
turn your radio, computer,
you
whatever
hear
you
me?
have on? Can you hear
Can everybody
me?
hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you better now.
Yes.
Okay. Good to see you all today. I'm thanking God for you and you and you and you. Y'all powerful women of God that's on the Facebook here. And I'm just calling in because I had a passion for writing a book And the book I wanted to write about was about women in ministry, because a lot of people that's in the church don't think that women can pastor, they can be leaders. And I wanted to kind of write a book on that because it's much needed in the kingdom, especially in the church. Women have just as much right to be leaders in the ministry, just as men do. So I want to know, how do you go about writing? I mean, do you all just have a pad that you carry around with you, just write your thoughts on it, or how do you go about doing it?
Well, it starts with that. I'm one of those people, I believe, we call it free writing.
I'm going to hang up and listen to you on the Facebook page.
Okay.
Thank you, Edward.
Thank you, Edward. Edward, I just want to encourage you, and I'm just going to claim right now, declare that book is done. Your book is complete and that it is published in the name of Jesus. I do recommend just writing first on pads, writing anywhere, just getting it down. We call that free writing. And then once you get it into free writing form and you have something, then we recommend you contacting someone who can help you to put everything together. That's a great way to start. Just start with journaling. Put your thoughts out on paper. Don't worry about the grammar, punctuation, mechanics. Just get it out. Get it out of you onto paper or in a pad or however you do it.
Now that's exactly how I did.
Yeah, that's how I did too.
Yeah, I didn't have any outlines.
Uh-huh.
I didn't have
Right.
anything.
That's
When my
right.
husband said, write a book,
Mm-hmm.
I just started writing.
That's
and
right.
it was all messy and everywhere, and no one could read it but me. But I just was writing, and then I went over it several, probably 100 times in the end. But every time I went out, I would just add more stuff
That's
to
right.
it.
That's right.
I think that's a good way to start, Edward. If you want to start writing a book, if you haven't already started journaling, because I know some people have journals already. I have a little cousin who she's working on her second one. So if they already have journals, how can they start doing?
Well, if you already
Good
have a
listening.
journal, one approach would be what they call mind mapping. And you would take the prominent thought, put it on a piece of paper, and then go back in your journal and find anything that's relative to that thought. And then you begin to bullet those thoughts. And so then before you know it, you have an outline. And you've put your thoughts in a centered place. And then you can go back, and then you can flush it out from there. But again, there's no right and wrong way, and I'm glad we have a school teacher here because one of the books I read was Writing Secrets on How to Get Started. My writing coach had given me, and it's the school days where you think you're going to do it right, and you got to be so careful that you're not going to do it wrong, and you're afraid of the red ink mark from the teacher. There's no right or wrong when you pen your story. There's no right or wrong. It's the thought and the creativity that you've been given uniquely in order to write a book for women ministers.
That's right.
In this society where we're not so easily accepted. And I could relate to that book, being an ordained minister as well. A lot of times they want you to preach from the floor, but you, and Edward, I thank you for that passion and that is coming from you. And I just say write, like she said, mind map, put your thoughts to paper. There's no right or wrong, but if that passion is there, you continue to write daily.
And I just want to add a footnote to what you said was powerful. You can do the mind mapping, or you can go ahead and just think about what are 10 topics relating to women in ministry that you want to talk about. Then write those 10 topics down, and that will create your outline. And then go to topic 1. Write all your thoughts about that first point. You're really putting your book together, but now you've got an outline. So think about, Edward, the top maybe 10 things you really want to talk about, and then each thing, just pour out your heart about that thing, and before you know it, you will have a book.
Yes.
Awesome. You ladies have anything y'all want to share on that?
I mean, but when I wrote my book, I'm the freestyler. Like I didn't do the journaling. I didn't do the outline and all that. But I did. What I did do was like how you said, the topics was my chapter, name of my chapter. So I wrote all the name of my chapters first. And then once I wrote each name of each chapter, then I went in individually and just dug in and dug in. That's right. But I'm not a journal. I don't like doing that. I don't, because the reason being is because I'm a thinker. and I can overthink real easy.
And you can't write fast enough if you can think.
Right, so my brain is like a hamster in the wheel. It moves faster than I speak, and then I write. So I can't journal. It's frustrating. I can't do it.
You know, we have so many different things, and like you were saying back then, when you started writing, maybe or some other people, we didn't have the smartphones and the tablets and all of that. I know now my husband is working on writing his book, not coming out anytime soon. We got to take care of this one first. But he's writing his book as, you know, through mine eyes, and it's through what he has gone through, his mental illness, and how he was as a patient, because I think it's important for people to see that too. You know, and then our boys are going to write a book about children, what they go through when their parents are going through a situation. So it's going to be a series of it. But one of the things I said all that to say this, one of the things that he do is he records.
I was going to say that's what I
you
do
know,
now.
if he don't record it, he's videoing it, but it's only voice only, so that I can go and type it in, and or write it in first, and then I type it all in together, and I give it back to him so that he can go over it again. Because you know, when you're talking about it, you may have missed something in the aspect of it. So it's like Mechelle says, no right and wrong way. There's so many different ways, but technology give us easier ways.
And they
we
got
don't
the
even have to
software
keep
to
up
do
with
that.
it.
What Kayl is saying, it's called Dragon software, and all you have to do is get the software, put it on your computer, you speak, and it types it for you. And it's different levels of it. Some of it's inexpensive, some of it is expensive. But I agree, using the voice memo is a great use of technology, because you'll forget your thoughts. Like you said, you're thinking so fast. Get that voice memo and say it, and then you can later go back and get it in writing.
Some of the better ones, the better voice recognitions, because it seems like not even Siri can recognize this country voice. They don't ever know what I'm saying. I know I'm country, but my God,
I love that.
you know. So some of the I did have that years ago. I had that where it can record what I was, where it will type in whatever I was saying. But he just actually used, you know, because I'm all about doing things on a budget. We just do, you know, and I think that's what most authors, when they're first getting started, you know, you can just use all this stuff that we've already paid all this money for.
That's right.
$500, $600, $700 for a smartphone, $1,000 for iPads. They have this stuff already on there that we can use, and then later on you can go in and either write it down, and then you can type it. Then you can go back and say, oh, but I forgot this. See, it's typed. All you got to do is, you know, delete whatever, or just return down and go ahead on and insert whatever you have in. So it's much easier than the way it used to be, you know?
Yeah. Just like with the publishing, getting a book published, it's so much easier. It's not as... You know, when I first started, of course, I had to go and ask many questions and surround myself with other authors and research on the process of getting it published, because the route I wanted to go was self-publishing. And I'm like, I know I've heard of this before. It's got to be a way this can be done, and it can be done for free. It's all about what you want to put into it. If you want to pay additional for graphics or, you know, what have you, but the process is really not that hard because you already have your story.
Yes, I recommend self-publishing, and if people are keeping up with the trends, even some award-winning writers are now doing self-publishing. Because when I started, my first book came out in 2003, the technology didn't exist. But you're right, you can self-publish for absolutely free. And there's a step-by-step process, and all you're paying for, like you said, your graphics for your cover. If you wanted to pay somebody to go in and edit it for you, you could pay for that. But you really, there are forums right now. Create Space is one of those forums. Lulu is another forum if you're looking for your hardback. But Create Space, we could take you step by step. The first thing is you've got to write your book. And that's what I want to say to anyone who is listening. I just want to encourage you, don't believe that you can't write a book, because you can. And as this young lady said, there's no right or wrong. And that's the mistake that some teachers said. You know, they're so concerned about the grammar and the mechanics. Don't worry about any of that. Just put your thoughts on paper, and that's the beginning. So, yes.
I have a question for Tam'ala. You talked about the chapters in your book. What is the one chapter that stands out the most in your book?
For me?
Yes, ma'am.
As far as standing out, what do you mean?
Just one that you would want, that you're so passionate about. I know you're passionate about the whole book, but if you could just speak to somebody today, you said, you know, it was written to help you.
Right.
Which chapter in there really, really?
That's hard. That's hard. I would say chapter 5.
Okay.
The walk of tears.
Uh-huh.
So like my chapters are about general things that happen in my life, but I took the name of the chapters and added a little mind thinking to it. So the walk of tears is about forgiveness. And if you know while doing the process of forgiveness and while going through the process of forgiveness, you shed more tears.
Oh yes,
yes you do.
Than anything,
because you got to relive the event.
Yes. Right,
That's right.
So that's why I called it the walk of tears. So and to be honest with you, my original manuscript, that chapter is not in there. Because when I wrote my book for me, I only had 5 chapters. Now, mind you, my book has 6 chapters, but for me, it only had 5 chapters. And I have like I said, I have a daily prayer life. And in my prayer, I was like, okay, I'm done with the book, God. Let's do it. You know, I'm good. I'm here. I'm feeling good. But he was like, you're not done yet. It's something missing in your book. And I'm like, no, let me see. I covered this, covered that, covered that, covered. You ain't the forgiveness. You went through all this, but now you got to tell the people that you went through it, but you forgave every last incident, person, whatever. You know what I'm saying? That was existed in your process, and I made that the middle of the book, chapter 5, and that was walk of tears.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Powerful.
And so then that was the necessity that you had to tell.
That was the necessity. I had to tell that because he wasn't going to let me do nothing else. I don't tell everything else, all the different experiences and stuff, but then I didn't tell the main part. Because you know, forgiveness, well, it's the biggest thing of all of our stories.
Wow.
Because a lot of people walking around here sick, and they go to the doctor on a daily basis trying to find out what's wrong, and the doctor has no clue of what's wrong, and all it is unforgiveness in the heart. And what you got to understand about unforgiveness is like a cancer.
Yes, it is.
It slowly kills you. You know what I'm saying? And it's a lot of people who die because of unforgiveness. But the biggest task is to forgive.
And to forgive yourself, oneself.
That's the biggest of all, is to forgive yourself.
Right.
Yes.
And in my chapter 5, which is the walk of tears, I say, I do tell that I forgave everybody, but my biggest task is, like you said, was to forgive me.
Yes.
Thank you for that. And Shonny, you talk about in your book, what is one main point that you want? I know your book is about forgiveness, and you said once you forgive, you get tested with another opportunity to forgive. So actually, you're walking that forgiveness. And the young lady who you write to that took the life of your sister,
I without telling too much of it, but the main point of it, like you said, it was the forgiveness. But seeing each step that she was going through, every day that what she was going through, from the domestic violence, from a small child being molested, I too was molested. I too was raped. So as she's telling me these things, I'm reliving my stuff.
That's right.
So now it's taking me into a place now. This ain't even about me and her no more. Now I have to go and dig in to forgive all these other people. So it dug up so much within my own life. So, and even now, after I've produced it, after I've put it out, after I've celebrated about it, still I'm being tested. Something else happens. Someone does something that, and they're well aware that they've done these things, but I gotta still move on, so I gotta forgive them.
And forgiveness is more about you.
It's
than
all about me.
else.
It's all about me.
You don't forgive that
because
person for them.
They may not even ever ask for it. You may never get an apology.
That's right. They
With
may not
this,
even acknowledge it.
she wanted to apologize.
Right.
They
don't
a lot of them do
acknowledge
not
it.
remember what the incident was, so
Right.
to bring it up to them, it's like, waste of time.
Exactly.
And then it can be selective memory too.
Yeah.
And we all write from that place of, like you said, transformation, and I think that's the main theme in healing and forgiveness of us three writers. And then you, Corindas, you talk about education and the fact about penning a story. And a lot of writing sometimes is knowledge sharing.
That's right.
And if we share with them, we educate them in literacy. We, teach them the steps to take. A lot of people are challenged with reading in their late age. I've seen some deacons in the church hold a hymn book upside down and declare that they're reading, but it's memorized. And we are at a step behind when it comes to literacy. So if I were to ask you today, what was some of the baby steps somebody, before I can even pen my story, I need to know how to read and write.
That's right.
What are some of the smaller things that you can tell somebody that's challenged with writing, just reading?
That's right.
And a lot of people are ashamed to go get kids' books, but
I recommend them strongly. In fact, that's our number one inventory. That's why we sell more children's books than anything else. You said something powerful earlier. Reading and writing are connected. So I recommend that person who feels like he or she can't write to go get a book, and I recommend strongly a children's book. And now with modern technology, you're able to get the pronunciation and the meaning online. If you are not aware, Merriam-Webster, www.m-w.com, is online. Any word, let's say the word caterpillar, you didn't know how to pronounce it. You could type it in. There's an icon there for sound. It will pronounce the word for you. So in the comfort and privacy of your own home, you have that technology. And I would not give up. I would also reach out to some adult literacy programs. There are a lot of people. I'm available. That's one of the things I want to do. I want to, help people like that. I have worked with the Adult Literacy League get one-on-one. First of all, you've got to overcome your shame. You've got to believe that there's nothing, you're not a bad person. There's nothing wrong with you because you can't read. You can learn. That's the first step. Because most people, when they get to that age, and I've seen that too, they're frustrated. They're so discouraged. I just want to encourage that person who's listening and cannot read. I want to say to you, you can learn how to read. And right now, because of technology, it's easier than ever. So the first step is to believe. Believe in your heart. You can learn how to read. Go out and claim it. Pick up a book. And don't be ashamed. I read children's books all the time. Now, part of that is because I sell books. I want to know what's in them. But I enjoy reading children's books. I want everybody to know that. Get one. And if you don't know a word, go to Merriam-Webster online. It will pronounce the word for you. And go over that word over and over and over again. Step by step. We have to walk or crawl before we can walk. We got to walk before we can run, and before you know it, you'll be fluid and fluent.
And I'm glad you said that, because one of the stories I read was, I think he was 99 years old when he started to read, and it was called Life is Good. He was 99 years old, wrote his first book, and he just started to learn how to read at 99. Beautiful. But it's a powerful book.
The library also have GED classes as well, and some churches have it, and some schools have it as well, so you can look that information up as well.
And we did have a caller call in and ask what writing style. Should it be Turabian, MLA? Most manuscripts, and you guys can speak to it, usually they want it Times New Roman 10-pitch font, double space, when you get ready to submit your manuscripts. Does anybody have anything different?
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of self-publishing. You
I was
can
gonna
do what
say,
you want to do.
I was gonna say.
My book
That's right. Come on.
has some several fonts in it.
That's right. That's the
Fun
beauty
style.
of self-publishing. You can be creative. Now, if
yeah.
you're submitting your book to a big publishing house, they got all those restrictions.
Yeah.
Right.
No, do it yourself and do what you want to do.
All right.
Yep, it's no handcuffs when it comes to you and your creativity. It's your story already. You put it on paper how you want it.
That's right.
Because some people, you like you said, you're not into the journal thing, so you may write just like you talk. You'll write it out how you talk.
Yeah, me. Yeah.
So, or me, I'll record it and then go back.
But to be honest with you, a lot of people think, some that really know me personally, who has my book, they call me, they say, "Tell me you have grammar errors in there." No, I don't. That was on that was purposely
Right.
put in there. Because you got to understand, the caterpillar was writing this book.
Come on, come on.
You understand what I'm saying?
Can we hit the
So-
bell?
I like that.
So if you know anything about the caterpillar, before it become a butterfly, it goes through a metamorphosis stage. And then metamorphosis stage, you being evolved, you being changed, you going through things, you experiencing things. So the butterfly didn't write this book.
That's right.
The butterfly wrote the next book. The
right.
caterpillar wrote
Yes,
this book.
I love it.
So the
That's right.
grammar, the punctuation, all of that, it is off on purpose.
Come on now. And I want to say one of the best books ever written, an award-winning book, a Pulitzer Prize-winning book, The Color Purple. It has bad English in it. It has what they call, well, I hate to use black English, but it's bad English, and that's intentional. Ebonics. It's intentional. A person can understand the message in spite of the errors. Don't let errors stop you. That
It's
was
the content. It's
Let
the
the
content.
caterpillar write the book.
Yeah, the
and
caterpillar
the butterfly
wrote
will
this,
be.
baby.
That's right.
And,
I love
and
that.
I'm glad you said that, because I was going to ask about being concise in your writing. Even if the grammar is not there, you still got to have a clear message.
The content.
The content. And because when I first started writing, my coach said, well, who you want to write to? I said, I'm going to help everybody. I'm going to write to everybody. He said, no, you can't. You got to have an audience.
Yeah, that's right.
Who is your audience?
Yes.
Right.
So one thing, how did you determine who your audience was,
Well,
Tam'ala?
I determined the people who's going to read my book off for the person I was when I wrote the book.
Okay.
So when I wrote the book, I was the person who was at the point of, okay, I went through it, I experienced, I'm ready to move on, I'm ready to heal, let go, and go to the next level and experience a better, because I know I can be better. I know it's a better part of me out there, and I'm ready for that. So that's how I knew who my audience. So I tell anybody, my book ain't for everybody, and I'm not mad about it.
Right.
It's for that person who's ready to move forward, that person who's ready to deal with what they went through, and not just talk about it, but heal, and know that they heal from it and push forward, not get to the next level and looking back and woulda, shoulda, coulda. No,
Right.
I'm talking about wholeheartedly heal, transformation. I love empowering, I do. And I don't knock empowering. I love it. I do it every day. But I tell people this is more of a transformation. But this book's about changing
You
your
gotta do
mind.
something. That's right.
It's like Romans
Action.
12 and 2. You know
Come
what
on.
I'm saying?
Come on.
You know,
That's right.
Yes, of this world. Come on.
Come on.
transform,
talk about
renewing
it.
your mind. That's what the life of a caterpillar
Come on.
is. You know what I'm saying? So
So your audience then.
my audience are the one that's ready to be a better, ready to be a better you.
All right.
I
One
love
thing
that.
I want you to talk about after you do whatever you want to do is, because some people may not even know what you're talking about because they're just beginning to write their
Right.
book. So explain to them why they need to have a target audience for their books. But go ahead on with Shonny. But I just want to remember what we're doing, because some people may not even know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Thank you for pulling me back. That's why I have to write, because I have to pen what my thoughts are, because I'm like you, Tam'ala. If you don't stop me, I tell my pastor, you better put some parameters around me. And I don't get
This called moving.
But I want to ask Shonny. Shonny, I think you said it took me 6 years to start, and then another 6 years.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask, usually, when I wrote my first manuscript, and it's called a manuscript until it's published. And
That's
then it's a
right.
book.
That's right.
So I'm just educating people. But when I worked my first manuscript, I gave it to my writing coach. He said, you got a story, but it ain't in here. And I was like, Joker, I don't know what you're talking about. But all you getting is in that manuscript right there. But then he told me that I didn't put adjectives. I didn't go back and talk about, I glossed over it. And so I wanted to ask you, in those 6 years, you were healing. And did you really, when you had to put adjectives to it, when you had to put descriptions to it, is that what labored the writing?
That was the
Just going-
labor.
yeah.
90 days tops for sure. Minimum, not top, minimum. That I had to restructure everything, because, mind you, these are letters we wrote. So this is, I have to fix what she said. I have to fix what I've said, how I wrote, because we're writing how we're talking. Like I said, we're writing it as we're talking to each other. So I had to go back and clean all of that up. And that was in the second part of the 6 years, plus 90 days,
Right.
plus still sending it to an editor and having it typesetted. because I was new at it, and all I wanted to do was tell the story. I didn't know how to format. I didn't know how I had to have it looking oh so dainty and pretty. And then something else I learned in the book world, a publishing consultant shared this with me. In the real world, we always say don't judge a book by its cover. But in the author world, you judge a book by its cover.
Yes.
So that was another thing that I had to go back.
That's a very good point.
And because this is not the first the original cover. And I needed it to jump out. I needed people to want to hear the story.
Yes. Awesome.
And it looks very painful, yet on this beautiful girl. So it made, what happened? What are they talking about? And then you draw in. So you gotta, those are some other important things. Your synopsis and your cover is major.
I have a little bit to add to that. I didn't self-publish. I got a publisher because I didn't feel like I could do self-publishing. I didn't want to trust myself with my life story and try to publish it myself and mess it up. I didn't want to do that. But that was one of the things that my publisher talked to me about in the first 10 minutes of when I sent her my sample of my book. I already had selected another publisher, but this lady, it was something about her when I first saw her before I even knew who she was. So once I found out who she was, I asked her, could I send a sample of my book? That was on a Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember. On Tuesday, she sent me an email saying, can we sync up? Let's have a conference call. We did that on a Thursday. Within 10 minutes of the call, she told me all of this stuff that I need to do about my book. But one of the first things she said is, I got to go back in it. Because I only had 89 pages, and she said, your book is not, I've read all of your book, but it's not getting enough of it out. And for what you want to get out the book, and then she told me what I wanted to get out the book. She synced so much, and I was like, oh my God, I sat down 3 hours with the other publisher. We've been on the phone for 10 minutes, and you have laid it all out on the line for me. And I didn't question when she said I had to go back. Thank God I listened to her and I didn't question it. When I went back and I read it again, I was like, I don't have anything in here. And I began to put so much in there till I had to stop myself. Because it was getting too much, and you don't want to put everything in there because, first of all, it gets too expensive, and then, people, their attention span is not long enough for, to have a huge book. Or I felt like it wasn't, she felt like it wasn't. So I had to kind of stop because every day I could add something else in it. Every day I would go home, but I'm glad I listened to her. I'm glad I listened to her. And let me say this about a publisher. My publisher is Lanita Blackwell Mitchell.
She's great.
I absolutely love her.
Phenomenal.
I recommend her to anyone. One of the things I love about her is because I am a strong, independent woman, right?
Yes.
And I said that to her. I said it to her when I first got. I want you to know I'm hands-on whatever I do. I just can't give it to you. I got to be able to be in there with it.
Right.
She was good enough to say, okay, but I'm in control. I'm with it. But sweetly nice. You don't even know she's saying it after a while, But I will say, even if you get a publisher, whether you publish or you self-publish, whatever, you have to have done your homework first.
That's right.
Because I didn't know anything about publishing. But what I did is a friend of ours went to Barnes and Nobles. And on Carl Parkway, and we sat there all day long. He was doing some editing on the book. I was letting him read it for the first time, and because he's an avid reader, he reads like these big books this thick and stuff like that. So I knew I wanted someone to read it from the reader's perspective to tell me, are the readers going to understand what I'm saying? So once I did that, I was looking at other books though. Trying to see how their tables of comments, how their book cover was, how their font was, how was their pictures when they was adding them in. All this stuff I wanted to see because I wanted to have the knowledge of going in. Yes, I trust Lanita to know everything there is about publishing. My book wasn't the first one she published, but I strictly believe in trust but verified everything. I wanted to make sure I knew enough that I knew the right questions to ask.
That's right. That's right.
Then getting back to what you were saying, about people were saying, and I'm gonna jump right on back to you. But I want to talk about, that's your book. This was my book. I want it to sound like me. Everywhere I've ever gone in my 48 years, I've been known as a country woman.
Yes.
That's what everybody called me on every job I've been on. It had to sound country, right? Because it wouldn't sound like me. And when my friend was doing it, he used big words, and he wanted to change all to these big words. I'm like,
sound right.
that don't even sound like me, though. So we got to keep it tailored to me. So that's what, and my audience will understand that.
Right.
Now, when the editing came, one person understood that I wanted to keep that in there, but what they didn't understand is I wanted to keep that in there, but I wanted to be grammatically correct.
Right.
And and I know it wasn't right in the beginning because I write like I talk. Okay. So I knew it was a lot of stuff wrong up in there. So I still wanted them to change that part, but I wanted to leave that country tone. We have to make sure as authors of our stories that it's sounding like we want it to sound and be correct at the same time. And it can be that.
And it's called voice.
That's
and that's
exactly
that's
what
right.
I was
It's
saying.
called voice. That actually is a writing part of writing. It's called voice.
Yeah.
That person's authentic voice is maintained.
That's correct.
And that's why I wrote the way, I kept the structure of the letters, although I had to add some things and take away some things and add the adjectives, but I didn't want to overly add them, or not have enough where the description wasn't there, because this was, again, the letters, the true letters. So I wanted to make sure that I had enough content, but not overdo it where I'm now boring the reader, or they're not understanding the flow of it, because they're letters. So I kept those things, some things authentic by having them. Her words are always in caps. That's the way she will write. So I kept it that way, so they could distinguish the two of the difference in the two conversations.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
So that was another thing. That's the joy of self-publishing, because someone else had once told me, because I consulted with different people, publishers, and it was like, why do you have it this way? No. But that was my way, and I think it would be easier to the reader to understand. Hence the word letters.
Yes.
So you'll, as you see when you look inside the book, it has like the title, the time, the dates that she actually wrote, and the way, the format. And it was easy for people to follow, like, okay, what's the next letter going to be like? Because that's what it was.
They may want to skip your letter and go straight to her. So they're going to look for the next cap letter.
That's right.
Exactly, because they want to see, what is Angie saying now? Oh, my goodness, this happened. So,
So
that
I
was
just
another
say,
way to keep
even
the
with
attention.
publishers, you can decide what you want to put in your book, And I know a lot of people said publisher is extremely expensive. To me, she was worth, if I could give her double what she charged, I would, because she was so good, and I think she got my story out there,
Exceptionally well.
I just think she did me such a justice, such a justice in this book, and she grasped everything I wanted to say. And the same thing with the letters that I put in the back of my book is letters that Paul had written me. Well, back before I went in the military, my name was spelled different, Kal. And since when he wrote me, he wrote me as Kayl, is what they call me back home, as Kayl. So I had to leave that in there, because if I did not leave that in there, if you hear him call my name, that's what you're going to hear him call me, Kayl. Because, we're country, right? But it was important for me to leave that instead of changing that. But the other publisher had told me I needed to change that and spell my name as it's spelled now. I only found out the correct way my name was being spelled when I went in the military and I saw my birth certificate. Because, we country. Mamas keep everything. I didn't have no birth certificate or no Social Security card on me, because she always had it for her, But if she needed, or if we needed, we had to go and get it from her. That's just how the family was. So when I saw that, I changed it. But I didn't want to change him, because that is what he called me.
That's right.
And she was like, well, you need to do it. that's not what I wanted to do. And that question never came up with Lanita. So I knew we were in sync. You know how some people said, you know when you're in sync with somebody? First, our spirits met, because I'm not starstruck. When I first met her, it was at one of Keisha one of Keisha Rivers, it was the fashion show. And she walked in, I'm like, who is this angel? She looked like an angel when she came in. And Keisha told me she had a publisher and all of this, but I didn't know that's who she was to the end of the show when she introduced her. And I was like, why am I so stuck on this lady? You know, I mean, I worked at a place where stars came in all the time, so I know it's not that. Why I keep focusing on her? So our spirits met first, and then when we got to the business part of it, she saw my vision before I told her my vision. You know, so that's important. So I don't knock self-publishing, because I know a whole lot of people have done it and done a wonderful job, including you ladies. But I don't want to knock publishers either, because people still think they don't have. They don't still have the rights to do what they want to do, and you still have that ability to say, this is still my baby. Because I say this is a baby out, and I'm sure y'all feel the same way. I carry this thing.
That's right. And you know, I want to emphasize that self-publishing doesn't mean you're doing it alone. It doesn't. When we say self-publishing, it doesn't mean that you're just doing it all by yourself. Actually, you're getting a lot of support from other people. Like you said, I just want to emphasize covers, because see, I sell books, and I have sold at some of the biggest events in town. Covers do matter. The cover will determine, even though the interior of the book could have powerful content, a person will pick up that book based on the cover. So I agree. I have changed it. There's a children's book that I wrote, and we changed the cover. Just did one thing. We changed the color of the font and the kind of font, and it changed immediately. People just pick up the book just from that one single thing. And so I have seen people pick up books based on the cover, and that is so important. Sometimes you do have to switch out your covers until you get a good feel. This is the cover that people are drawn to, because the interior is wonderful. But for some reason, people just get stuck on that cover.
And you can do that afterwards, right? Even after you've published your book, you can go in and make those changes. That's why you don't have to be perfect.
That's right.
Because if you see it's not working, you can go back in and still make some changes.
Well, with my book cover, I had the hardest time. This is what I wanted. When I said this is what I wanted, I just gave a person, my vision, and he went at it. But when before I self-published, I did have the other side. But however, people kept telling me, you need to change your book cover. It looked like it need to be in the garden section. It's too much green on it. You get what I'm saying? And I was like...
And I love that cover.
I know, it's amazing.
You said something about that cover?
It says so much.
And I was like, wait a minute. So I was highly upset. Because I'm the kind of person, when I'm stuck on it, you can't change me. I'm stuck, because I know what this cover matches the title. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, it does.
And I went to my mom. I was like, Mom, they tell me I need to change my cover, and I'm like, I'm not telling me I need to do a photo shoot and put my face on it. It's not about autobiography. It's none of that. So because she's good in that area, with typesetting and knowing layers of all that, she was like, okay, go back to the person who did your book and just tell them, instead of putting everything on one layer, put it on different layers so it can look like it's rising, it's look more live and all of that. And that's all I did to get it changed, because I know it got a lot of green on it, but it's the caterpillar.
That cover will be picked up.
And everybody kept asking me, well, what's the point? What's the point of this? The branch or whatever case may be, because I was like, that's the wall to the butterfly. You know what I'm saying? And if you see, it's a hole right there, so the caterpillar trying to get through that process,
and it looks
hole
perfect with your
to
banner.
Get to that butterfly. You get what I'm saying? So. Yeah, I'm a character.
But it's for your audience. So your audience, the person that's supposed to be reading that book, is the person who would understand that book.
Right.
The person who don't understand it may not be the person the book is written for.
And like I was telling her before we came on, although I know my book is not for everybody, but my goal for my book is to get it recommended by physicians.
That's right.
Okay. Psychiatrists, counselors, people like that to recommend my book. I mean, I didn't even know I was gonna write a book, but the fact that I wrote it and I knew how it impacted me. I wanted to impact, because there's a lot of people in the trenches that want to come out the trench with the valley. Let's say the valley. That want to come out the valley and just don't know how, don't have no support, don't have nothing. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I wanted my book. I want my book. That's my goal, for it to be highly recommended, you know, by physicians. But as far as new authors, people who's trying to write or who's trying to tell their story, I say that tell your story. Tell it. Write it down. Don't overthink it. Tell it. But in the process of telling it, make sure you clear on why you tell your story. Make sure you clear on, you know, how can your story help? You know what I'm saying? Because here's the thing. Readers really don't care nothing about your story. They want to know how you overcame. That's right. You know what I'm saying? How you overcame in the forgiveness, how you overcame with the unveiling of the mask, and how I overcame from being the life. That's what the readers are interested in.
The end result.
Right. So when authors or new authors, aspiring authors or whatever, when they're writing their story, if they understand the genre, meaning the area they want their book to be in, the purpose, meaning why you write your story, who is your audience, you get what I'm saying? And then, you know, let them know how you made it through. If it's one of those books. They want to know, okay, give me the tools you use.
That's right. That's right.
To unveil your mask or your love, forgiveness, or becoming the life of a Kayl. Give me the tools. You know what I'm saying? That's what they want to know. So.
Well, Tam'ala, I'm glad you said that, because I had the word purpose written down. I did, because I wanted to ask, after the necessity, it is the ultimate purpose.
That's right.
And so, give me one, maybe one impacting story that somebody came and told you about the life of a caterpillar. Just give me about 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Yeah, 30 seconds you knew that book had accomplished its purpose. And then I want you to be
an older woman, purchased my book. And she's in her, I want to say her 70s. Okay. Wow. And when she read my book, and she read it within a day, She said, Tam'ala, I read it in a day or whatever case may be, and I'm older, and I thought I was okay. I thought I was all right. But by reading your book and answering your questions, I went all right. And if you ever been to one of my speakers or heard me speak, I mainly talk about digging, acknowledging what that is in you that keep you so bitter, and dig deep inside of you, locate that thing, and serve an eviction letter. Get it up out of you so you can heal. And she said that what the book did for her, and I'm like, hey, what I did, that's purpose was accomplished.
What about you? What about that you know that purpose, that book has served its purpose?
Oh, wow. It's almost similar, but I'm gonna tell you, it was 50 years ago. A lady whose brother was killed 50 years ago. Inboxed me. We're not friends on Facebook. She saw it surfacing around. She inboxed me and she said, "I don't know how you did it, and I've been holding on for 50 years, but I saw your book, and now I was able to get your book, and see how you did it."
I'm trying not to cry.
I know.
That was amazing to me.
Then you know that,
and it made me. Y'all ain't finna make me cry.
But it's all good.
It's very it served its purpose.
It's purpose.
And it's going and going, and
that's powerful. And that's Kayl, what about a purpose? How you know that the unveiling of a mask, telling a story about loving someone through the place of a mental illness. How did you know once that book was released that it was a necessity first, and then that it had fulfilled its purpose?
Because when I first started talking about it, it took me over 2 years to write my book. And when I first started talking about it to people, when I first started mentioning the word mental illness, something that I hadn't even talked about, no one knew what my husband and I was going through. Not even the ones that was very close to me knew. When I started talking about it, and I started to classmates, to people on Facebook, I would get inboxes and they would say, I'm so glad to hear you doing this and talking about mental illness, because my mom suffered with a mental illness. I had no idea. My daughter has a mental illness. You know, one person said that she had actually talked her sister into divorcing her husband because he was going through the same symptoms as Paul was going through, but he was a little bit more violent with his, and they were scared for her life. But what they really thought that he was on drugs versus a mental illness.
Right.
Wow. When people send me emails and direct messages and texts, and they talk about how I've helped their marriage and how I helped them understand something in marriage, or how to be closer to their significant other.
Yes.
To me, that lets me know that my purpose is out there. This young lady right here probably more. You too.
I'm about to laugh at Kayl because she put a part in her book about something you're supposed to do for the first month. I want you to do nothing but. I said, "Woo! Is this a book about mental illness, or what Kayl trying to help
and
me
it's
with?"
Not.
But it's a good book, and so I was like, "Oh, we're gonna try this right here." But I mean, that book is phenomenal.
And it's not just about mental illness.
About
I want to talk
love.
about mental illness because I want people to know what I went through and know that there's a silver lining. Once your spouse has been diagnosed or your loved one has been diagnosed with a mental illness, you still can be happy in your life. Yes, you're still going to go through some things. You can be happy, but it's also about, you know, as a young child, knowing my self-worth. You know, having the faith. You know, being raised in church and knowing that foundation was there for both of us. Both of us have very high self-esteem. All of that helped with our relationship, right? Knowing that as a teenager, because now our teenagers don't have that. They're not coming up with that. You know, knowing, saying that, hey, he committed adultery. No matter how much I love him, you got to go.
Come on now.
You know, because I'm more important than anybody. I love you, but one thing I told him, when we talk about this in the book, I love you enough to let you go. That's true love right there, right? Wow. So it talks about all of those things, but it also talks about that you are going to go through those struggles because so many people are not staying together. You know, at the first sign of trouble, they're sprouting out. So, you know, you're telling them that you can stay together, you can get over whatever it is. I say love conquers all if that person is worthy of your love. So letting single people know, yes, I know you think right now that you're perfect for one another, but you and her both are going to change over the years. Are you ready to deal with those changes? Because if not, you don't need to get married. My husband said it on the panel yesterday. If you're not ready to deal with all of this stuff and you think everything is going to be perfect, you don't need to get married. But that's not what it's about. But he also said it's worth being married, to have someone there with you through the good times, to have someone there with you when you're sick, to have someone there with you when you're going through all those, but also to have someone to fuss with every day. Right, you need to have somebody there.
And makeup.
You know, the makeup used to be good when you was young. You know, it'd be like the video. I put that on Facebook one day.
What?
You know how
She is keeping it real.
you know how the videos used to be, and
real.
you're slamming the dishes down because you're so upset and I'm never going to see him again, and you're all dramatic. And as soon as he come in, you're like, thank you.
Take me now.
Now after 30 years, it's like, okay, I forgive you. You know, we're done. It's over. So that's when I knew it was something. When people, when others come to you who don't know you, who don't know your story. And I know no one knew our story. No one knew what we were going through at all. And for us to have dealt with all of this, one of my mentors, he was blown away. Because I came to work every day, and they didn't know anything about what I was dealing with, and I was still helping them achieve their goals and helping them grow and be successful. Here I am going through hell every day I go home when he wasn't on medication and stuff.
It be like that too.
When you hear those stories, you know. I know that God wanted me to write the book. He used Paul to get it out of me because I didn't want to write no book. But when people come to you and you've helped them, somehow you know you should have written that book.
And we should read. You know, as we talk about writing it, this is why it's so important to read. Look how everyone who read your books were blessed. And that's one of the things we've gotten away from. You know, all this social media and our cell phones, we've got to bring reading back again because people's lives are being healed and transformed and empowered and all these wonderful things. I want to read every book right now. And that's what people miss miss out on. We feel better when we read.
Yes.
That's
we
true.
feel better
do.
when we read and when
do.
we get this information. And look at the age groups. You said a 70-something-year-old woman, a 50-something-year-old woman. That's why we should never stop reading. We're lifelong
Yes,
learners,
lifelong
and we evolve. And so I just want to do a plug for literacy. I don't just sell books. I try to promote reading,
Yes.
not just to sell the book, because I know the power that literacy can have. And so if you're not reading, just pick up a book and get started.
Yes.
These books are, I've already started reading your book and I didn't want to stop. You know, just thinking, okay, I got to read this. You know, so and I'm going to get everybody's book. Everybody's book here, maybe not today, but I'm getting all books. But I just want to emphasize, especially as African American people, we couldn't read. At one point, it was against the law. Now that we can read, we should read. Read for therapy, read for empowerment, read for knowledge, read for everything, because your life can be changed.
You're absolutely right about that, Corindus. I have a nephew, and I had to go to school for something, but they had promoted him all the way to the 12th grade, and he could not read.
Yes, I know people like
I
that.
was so upset.
Yes.
And when I look back, it was the times when he got in trouble. It
Yeah.
was
Come
because
on.
you had called on me to read,
That's right.
and I was challenged in that
That's
area,
right.
and I couldn't read. So rather than me be embarrassed, I will cut up so you can put me out of class.
That's right.
And so with a lot of African young men,
Oh, it's true.
my heart pains for them.
My
And I have a
sister,
son
yes.
that's 20-something. And I'm always making, before you sign something, son, you read it.
Read it.
If
Right,
you don't
that's right.
understand it, you ask questions. But we are at the deficiency there. But I want to ask, we got a couple of minutes left. I want to ask, I'm a young writer. I'm just starting today. I'm going to ask, you give me the first 2 minutes of what I should do. I'm just starting today. I got a passion to write. It's a necessity that I write. And all the stories are not about pain and transformation.
right, that's
There's
right.
some stories that make you laugh. And the
That's
Bible
right.
tells us that
That's
laughter is
right.
good for the
It's
soul.
good medicine.
Sometimes I'm
That's
sitting
right.
around, I just tell my husband, just turn on some cartoons or something
That's
that's
right.
got
Woody
some
Woodpecker.
color,
That's
where I
right.
have to think, where I can just laugh. And so sometimes I
That's
pick
right.
up a book
That's
just to
right.
make me laugh,
That's
because
right.
we need laughter. We need
do.
cookbooks.
Yes,
Cookbooks
we do.
needs to be written.
That's right.
Those old family recipes that mama and them used to have.
That's right.
We need to capture our legacy, our
Come
heritage.
on now,
All
come
those
on.
kind of books need to be written.
Yes.
So I got this passion. I want to write a book. I want to pen my grandmama's legacy.
That's right.
One young girl in church, her grandma just passed at 88, and she was posting my grandmama stories on Facebook. And I told her in church today, I said, and I'm looking for the book.
Look, that's right.
I'm
That's
looking for
right.
the book.
That's right.
Somebody's parents know how to cook.
That's
And I
right.
mean, they had the recipes. They got children's stories, their own stories. So I'm a writer. I got a passion, and I want to write. How do I get started? You give me the first 2 seconds on how
First
to
2
get started.
seconds, pick
then
up
I'm
a
gonna
pen.
ask Tam'ala, and
Okay.
then I'm going to ask Shonny.
Great. Pick up a pen and a pad and start writing. If you want to be a writer, write. And it's just as simple as that. And write with what you said in mind. Long after you're gone, someone will have that. That's a legacy. And be blessed by what you wrote 100 years ago. We're still reading that great book, the Holy Bible.
Yes.
The Holy Bible.
Yes, amen.
And it was written thousands of years ago. Your book can be just like that.
Okay.
You want to write? Write.
Right. And then I wrote it and I penned it. Now where I'm going, Miss Tam'ala.
When you pen, well, in the process of penning it, putting pen to paper, write, and don't be scared to write.
Come on now.
Whether it's a cookbook, whether it's a comedy, whether it's a transformation, whatever kind of book it is,
Yes.
do not be scared to write.
That's right. Come on.
Do not keep it. Do not have in mind, oh, what this person gonna think, or is
Oh,
this
yes.
grammar gonna
Come
be
on.
wrong, or
That's
is that
good.
gonna? No, write, write. Because if it's in you, then it needs to be on paper. Do not camouflage nothing, because it's
like
not
that.
gonna be good.
Come on.
I like
Come
that.
on.
It has to be the truth
Right.
of whatever it is, whatever kind of genre
Yes.
book it is. It has to be all of you.
That's right.
If not, it's not going to be good.
That's right.
So you're going to get stuck at, if you can't get past the writing, ain't no need to publish.
That's
know
right.
me.
That's right.
So now I'm talking to you, Miss Shauna. We done wrote it, we done penned it, we weren't afraid of it, we ain't camouflaging nothing.
That's right.
Now it's time for me to take it to somebody. Am I going to get it edited, or what am I going to do? Or do I just put it out there with all the grammatical errors, or should I invest in an editor?
I would not recommend putting it out with before having it edited.
Thank you.
Even if it's your friend that reads books like this.
That's right.
If you have a friend that's a reader,
Yes.
turn that book over to them. Give them that chance
That's right.
to see what you didn't see because you were so busy writing it
That's
out.
right. That's right.
Because there's always going to be something that you didn't see. And I've read my story over and over and over and over again.
Yes. Right.
But there was still something that I said, no,
Yes.
I need to put this. I gotta take that away.
Right.
And like I want to just piggyback. Don't be afraid to be you on paper.
That's
Wow.
right. That's right.
That's the main thing.
You'll never be free if you worry about what other people are going to think about you.
That's right.
When you said something powerful, whoever the book is for, because the book is for somebody, they will find that book.
That's
And
right.
it's true. You
They
won't
got
be
to
free
be
until you just get beyond that fear.
I like that too
Yes.
because I know I read my book over and over, and it was a word that was missing, a 3-letter word. I was like, did I put what?
Yeah.
And something that's simple because you know it's here,
Exactly.
but it's not there. And
Yeah.
you miss it no matter how many times you
So
you
true.
look over it. So that is good. And a lot of people will put their stuff out there without getting it edited.
Yeah.
And the words and so that actually takes away just even the cover because I'm a reader, and if I start reading and I got to go back and read it 3 times, I'm just like,
Yeah.
Yep.
and then I'm done with
And they
it.
said that's one of the most important parts of it is the editing part of it, because if a person sees too many errors, and because 1 or 2 little errors can really mess up a whole paragraph, and it's like they don't even understand what the paragraph is about. So it's important. I said I let that one person read it because I know he was an avid reader, and I also know that he would tell me the truth.
Right.
That's the one you got to really talk
right.
to,
That's
because you
right.
can just let anyone else read, and they may not be
friend.
honest with you. But I also let my other best friend read it because she has known me as long as me and Paul before I ever met Paul. So I knew that something. And she sent me an email back. She was like, "We need to do a conference call because some things she left out." She remembered my stuff. Okay. And, she remembered my stuff. And then my other friend was like, "So did you put this in there? Did you put that? We've been friends for 20 plus years, and you remember when this happened and that happened?" And so it's good to also, but you have to be. You can't discuss with everyone, but it's good to have those ones close by you. But the ones who know, are going to be honest with you. If I'm wrong, he gonna tell me I'm wrong. If I say something that's not true, he's gonna tell me. If he tell me you got too many country words and you need to put some big words. But again, you got to stay in control of the thing. But to have those people there because he's reading and said, well, the reader's not going to understand what this is. I like to say Paul liked to dress to a T. He was like, they ain't gonna understand what that is. What's dressing to a T?
I got it. See, it depends.
On the subject.
Yes. So, but you have to think about that because I'm not just selling to the subjects.
Right,
I want to
right,
sell to
right.
everybody. So
Right.
you have to let that think about that. And then even after letting those 3 people read it, then I had to get it to a professional editor because I when I read and I did my research, they said that was the most important thing.
It is important.
It is.
And I'm glad you said that too. And so now I've got it to paper. I wasn't scared to tell it. I done got it edited. And so Kayl, now I'm ready to self-publish. And how do I go about doing that? Is it an easy process as far as just like uploading a document if I'm going to use Create Space and put my cover out there? Is it as simple as that?
Well, I don't know. We would have to ask Lanita Blackwell Mitchell that because that's who did all of mine. But I'm sure these ladies who self-publish can do that because I didn't think I could do it.
If you're using Create Space, the first thing you do after you've written the book, the second thing to do would be make sure that you get the editing done. And Create Space has templates. So you go to Create Space and you set up an account. And then all you do in the search section, you look up templates and you determine what size. Most of the ladies here have a 6x9. That's a trade paperback size. I'm also a publisher, by the way. So it's trade paperback size. And you have to download the template first. After the template is downloaded, then you would upload your book. Now, I like to download the template before I do the book and type my book in the template. And it just makes things easier. You get 2 kinds of templates. One is already formatted, one is not formatted.
Right.
And then the interior is done. And it has to be saved in PDF.
Yeah.
And then your cover, I would recommend getting a professional cover done. However, you can use their templates for covers. And if you get a professional person to do it, make sure they're professional. They will have everything laid out. You tell them the book size, they'll know what to do. And then you upload your cover. You press a button. and they'll process your book.
It's as simple as that.
It's
As simple as that. The only
However,
thing, right? The only thing.
However, when self-publishing your book, and we're gonna say create space,
Okay.
and you're getting your cover done, and you're giving it to your graphic person or whomever,
yeah, you gotta
make sure you give them the 6x9 and the centimeters,
Right.
blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah
You
blah,
have to.
Yeah.
so that it won't kick it back out.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And
Yeah.
one thing, because I did mine through Create Space,
Okay.
and that was the biggest. Like, I just published my workbook, and I went through my workbook like for, I think it took me like 2 months, because my cover wasn't meeting Create Space format, so it kept kicking it out. So make sure those size, those numbers, you
Yeah, that
giving it to
trim.
your that trim,
But you
and
get
make
a
sure it's not
professional-
bleeding over.
A
Right.
professional cover designer, I'm going to be honest with you because
Yeah.
I use one,
Yeah.
would already know that.
Yes,
if you
indeed.
tell the
Yes,
professional designer the book is 6x9,
Yes.
they're supposed to have those measurements.
Yes.
If they don't, I recommend getting another cover
Yeah.
designer
Yeah.
because they should already know how to do
I
that.
want to say that too because both of mine were done through Create Space
Uh-huh.
and downloaded. And I have a graphic designer. I tell her how many pages.
That's right. That's
I
right.
tell her the font I'm using. She knows how many inches
That's
to come
right.
over each
That's
side.
right.
How many inches I got right here for
That's
my
right.
text. She know how much width I got. The
That's right.
ISBN number. So
That's
she
right.
knows
Right.
that.
Yes.
So if you get you one and you really want, get
Yeah.
you somebody that knows what graphic designing is and
That's
what
right.
the parameters are so they can do your width, your height, how much they know
That's
that
right.
based
Yeah,
on
'cause-
And they got to
page
have the
size.
number of pages. That's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Your
Oh, yeah,
graphic
that's,
artist
that's
has to
definitely part of a must. Because,
Yeah, because that's your spine.
Uh-huh.
That's your spine.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about
So
that.
let me say one
Uh-huh.
thing. One thing on Create Space that I know, because even though I had the publisher, the email will come to me when they will kick things out. They won't let you publish
That's what
something
I was
that's
gonna
not
say.
right.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
will send something back, but there are some places that you can go, and evidently they don't do that, because I met one lady at a seminar that I was at, an author seminar. And one thing, her writing came all the way over.
It
You
was
know how it don't
bleeding.
supposed to go all the way
It
over to
did
the
the
side,
blend.
because when you bend your book back, it bends with it, and it cuts off the name, the title of your book. It allowed her to do that. So there are some places with that. So be careful about that as well, that your book is centered so that it won't come over here where
You
it'll
know
break
what?
it
I
off.
want to add to that because now Create Space will kick some stuff back, but they'll let you make that mistake.
Yeah.
You have the power to keep pushing it and saying, "Hey, I disregard that fix," because it did tell me,
Yes.
before I had to get the trim and give my graphic designer everything, that it was bleeding over or what have you. So it'll tell you here's an error, but if you push it and say I want to proceed with it, they're going to give you what you asked for.
That's right.
So you have to be careful on that too.
And I wanted to say something about what Kayl said about having somebody look at your stuff that's going to tell you the
Oh,
truth.
yes.
If they ain't going to tell you the truth, ain't no sense in you letting them read it.
That's
oh,
right.
this so good, this so good. I done had some books and then somebody said, oh yeah, my friend said that was good. I was like, yeah. But I got this one friend, she gonna tell you the truth, no Reverend Banks. She gonna tell you the truth no matter what. So my first 2 books I always send to her because she gonna tell me, Mechelle, that I wouldn't pay $15 for that. And she honest about it. Or Mechelle, yeah, you know what? I will pay $15 for that. And also, I found out when you incent people to read your book. So this next book that's going out, when I get the proof, I'm putting it on Facebook. I need 2 readers that read, that are avid readers, and I'm gonna pay you in the form of a gift card. But when I get it back, I want to make sure that you went through it with a fine-tooth comb and you didn't cut no comb.
Yeah.
So just let us know right now. We only have a couple of minutes, so if anybody want to call in, if you have a question or if you have a comment, 478-569-6474. We have about 10 minutes. So I'm sorry to
And
cut you off.
that's it. I'm actually going to put it out there on Facebook and say I got these 2 proofs. I'm going to mail them to them, get them to sign a release that they're not going to use my stuff, and I'm going to give you a gift card for the first 2 readers that are avid readers that can really critique my stuff, because I don't want to put something out there that's not going to be beneficial and not accomplish the goal that it was written for.
So I got a question, and I this is a question not for me, but a lot of new authors don't know, and I'm just gonna ask the question. I know what I did, but I'm just gonna ask the question. Do you all recommend that your book be copyrighted? That the book be
Yeah, well, the copyright laws are the first time you write the book, it is copyrighted. But what I recommend doing is going to the Library of Congress and going through that process. Now they do that electronically. All that means is that you have notified the U.S. government, our Library of Congress, that controls all the books, that you've registered your book. And it is copyrighted, and it takes a process. You do it online, but it'll take weeks for that to come back, and you'll get confirmation. The other thing that all self-publishers need is every single book has something called an ISBN. It's like a social security number for books. I recommend not using CreateSpace's ISBN. I recommend publishing your own ISBN because as long as you use that ISBN, it really belongs to CreateSpace. Once you use your own ISBN, it is yours. So that's another thing, that every book has to have a cover. Every book has to have an ISBN. I do recommend going to the Library of Congress, depending on the book. For novels, yes. Go to them. It's only $35 now, so it's really convenient.
I definitely would recommend that because a lot of stuff, like for instance, people, this is good. This would be a good movie. This would be a good. This would be good for this. So you have to watch out for people taking your story.
Exactly.
Because I had to get her authorization, the young lady, to release the letters in a book. So you got to get my authorization to do anything with this because this is my baby.
I had to get my sons permission to talk about them in the book, to show their pictures in the book. My husband, I had to get his permission to do, because later on they can come back. Sometimes kids mind because we'll probably end up in jail or dead.
It's so funny.
Later on, they can come back and get mad at you and say, well, you done made money off this book. Everybody think you're rich off of a book, right?
Right. Oh my goodness, I tell you, they think
we got just a few minutes. Can we touch on that? Because everybody think that they're going to get rich off of their books. So that's why your why is so important, because when that book is not selling and not making those millions you thought you was going to make, then what? So let's talk about that just for those few minutes.
Awesome. People who I coach, they come to me and I say, first of all, you got to know, do you want to make money? What is your passion? Is it for the money? Because if you make the money and it don't reach your purpose, then you fail.
Right.
But if you want to write for purpose and you don't ever make a dime,
Come on now, sister.
then what are you writing for? Are you writing for purpose? Or are you writing for money? And mine was for purpose. I give away more books than
That's
I
right.
sell.
That's what I
I give them away
That's
because
right.
my purpose is not to make the money. So I'm not discourrised. But if I went into it thinking I was going to make all this money, I was going to move to Beverly Hills, then I am sadly mistaken. My purpose was to change lives. And that's what the book is used. So if I don't ever make a dime,
That's right.
then, and my pastor said, Mechelle, you just can't give away. Well, yeah, I'm just going to keep giving them away until...
Well, I want to live both of mine. I'm just going to tell you.
You better talk about it.
I do. The main purpose, though, is to help people.
Right.
I want to help relationships. I want to help these single people that want to go into these marriages. I want them to understand what they're going into and how it's going to change over the years. And I want them to understand to stick together. But I also want them to purchase the book so they can get that lesson.
You want to
Right.
I have a friend, she wrote a book, and she said, Mechelle, my book ain't selling, I ain't making no money. I'm saying to myself, what's your struggle? Her struggle is because she want to make money. And me, I'm like, well, I ain't selling no books, but I'm sure giving them away, and I'm as happy as a lark because that's my intent. So again, how do you talk to those people that think that you're going to get millions of dollars for this?
That was it. Because that was the first question that somebody asked me. When the first time I went to like a book signing, I wanted to know, okay, how do I get this process started? And the first question, this guy, he's an author, he said, do you want fame and fortune, or do you have a story to tell? And that was the thing. I have a story to tell. I got to get it out because I want to sleep. Because God won't let me sleep right now because I have to birth this thing. So, I don't want the money. However, once you have produced it and you put it out there, and then you put so much time and you put so much into helping other people with this book, if you buy the book, you'll get the healing.
Yes, indeed.
If you just pass it to somebody else that may need it.
That's right.
You know, so
is it maybe it's a season sometimes, and
Yeah,
I just found
I
out
haven't sold a book this month.
It's a season.
Yeah,
you can go to
I
a
did
book
sell
signing
some,
and
yeah.
not sell a book.
I mean,
But
not
then
on
it'll be a
online, you know.
season
I ain't sold none
for
of
that
them.
need, and the next thing you know, you done sold 150 books. So I found out that it's in seasons. Sometimes when it's, you know, if you got that book and you go and you do a workshop at a detention center, and you get people and you let them know that you're getting ready to do that, the people who support your vision will buy so many books that you won't even be able to.
And that's what I wanted to talk about. I didn't know if we had time about the marketing of it.
That's
Yeah,
it.
getting it
It's
to the
about
people.
another
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that right quick?
Yeah,
About a
like,
minute.
I mean, just what you just said, getting into the detention centers. This would be for someone that has experienced the domestic violence. I've met a young woman who did take her abuser's life and had to serve time, was looking at 20 years, but she did 3 years, birthed her child in prison. You know, so I got off of a panel one day, and that was the first person that opened their arms and hugged me. So it's those kind of people that this book is reaching out. You know, it's touching. So marketing is one thing. Advertising, that's one thing. But if it's truth, your story, your passion, they are going to come. They're going to be drawn to you.
Awesome.
I agree with that.
I always say focus on saving and not selling.
Yeah.
When I
That's
wrote
good.
focus on saving, and I said a prayer when I wrote my first book, God, if love doesn't hurt, life lessons for young women. If I say one person, God, I've done enough. And I also want to say be patient, because one of my books, you know, I didn't really market my books because I was teaching, and teaching takes everything out of you. Be patient, because she's right, there's a season. Now this one particular book is really selling. So stay at it, keep going, sending your book out there, don't give up.
So right quick, The Unveiling of a Mask by Kayl May.
Unmasking by Mechelle and Unmasked and Unashamed.
Letters of Forgiveness, Shonny Sanders.
The Life of a Caterpillar, Tam'ala La'Shae.
Your store.
And Avant-Garde Books
Online.
online.
Thank you so much,
you.
Mechelle Stephens, for being my guest
It was an
co-host. You did
honor.
awesome.
Honor.
Viewers, I hope you got something out of this show today. Thank you to all of our guests.
Yes.
We've had some questions. We had a caller, so I know this was good. Next month, second Sunday in August, I think it's the 9th, I can't remember. It's the second Sunday. We're going to be talking about should marijuana be legal.
13.
August the 13th. Should marijuana be legal? We're going to be talking about that. So join us on the 2nd. Thank you so much. Please share out the video so everyone else who have a book inside them can birth it out and get this information. Share, share, share. See you next month.
Bye-bye.
The biggest station in the world, playing all of today's hits. You're listening to Instinct Radio.